News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Soft landing lands on Talkback. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning, Thursday, October 27, 2016. Sky is cloudy. We do have some fog in the area this morning. It's 46 degrees. Do have some bare and wet roads to report right now. US Highway 93 north over Evero Hill, I-90 from Frenchtown to Superior, and then over Lookout Pass. US Highway 12 Lolo to Lolo Pass, and US Highway 83 from the Clearwater Junction up to Cedar Lake, all reportedly bare and wet at this time. Our newscast sponsored by Western States Cat, offering free local delivery from their stock of over 15,000 truck and equipment parts. Western States Cat, built for Montana. On yesterday's Talkback program, the Montana World Affairs Council brought Mary Poole and Molly Short Carr from Soft Landings, Missoula, into the studio. At one point in the 90-minute conversation, Molly Short Carr of the International Rescue Committee was asked by a listener just how many refugees they plan to help resettle into Missoula.
150 individuals up to, and we're looking at refugees coming from various locations, potentially Eritrean refugees. We might have a few Burmese refugees who come through. The Congolese refugees will continue to come. That is a priority group. We will have Syrian refugees as well as Iraqi refugees.
After questions about allowing Muslim refugees to enter the state, Mary Poole stood up for many who disagree with Soft Landing's efforts to bring refugees into the Missoula area.
I have done a lot of work with people on both sides of this issue. And the idea that people that disagree with refugee resettlement are hateful or bigots or racist is not accurate. I absolutely acknowledge there is a huge diversity of people with questions and people in opposition to refugee resettlement.
You can hear the entire interview with Mary Poole and Molly Short Carr on our website at newstalkkgvo.com. It's worth listening. A southwestern Montana man has pleaded not guilty to killing his girlfriend's infant son at a Bozeman motel last November. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports 21-year-old Brandon Moss of Clarkston entered his plea Wednesday to deliberate homicide. District Judge Holly Brown continued his bail of $250,000. Court records say police responded to a room at an extended stay motel November 3, 2015, and found a 5-month-old boy lying on the floor unconscious and not breathing. Moss told officers the baby had started crying and he picked him up and tried burping him. He said the boy stiffened and lost consciousness. Prosecutors say an autopsy determined the baby died of blunt force trauma to the head and neck. The divisive presidential campaign between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is putting political rifts between parties and genders on display across the country. However, there is agreement in Montana, where, according to the 30th annual Montana poll conducted by students and faculty at MSU, both men and women prefer Donald Trump. Here's poll director Nisha Bellinger.
Trump is ahead of Clinton by 16 points. We have Trump at 43%, Clinton at 27%. 37% of the females favor Trump as compared to 33% of the females favor Clinton. So Trump, as far as this poll is concerned, is ahead of Clinton even when it comes to females.
While Trump leads with both men and women, Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte has split support. Polls show him currently behind incumbent Steve Bullock.
We have Governor Bullock ahead of Greg Gianforte, and Governor Bullock is at 44%, and Greg Gianforte is at 32%. 51% of females support Bullock as compared to 26% supporting Gianforte. So you see a pretty prominent difference there.
The MSU poll spoke with 590 Montanans. Result tended to give incumbent office holders an edge. And by the way, incumbent Congressman Ryan Zinke ahead in the race with Democrat challenger Denise Juneau. Zinke leading in the polls with both men and women. But former Texas Governor Rick Perry was in Missoula for a brief time yesterday to support his fellow Republican Greg Gianforte in his effort to unseat Democrat Governor Steve Bullock. Perry remarked on Montana's economy on yesterday's Montana Morning.
I was just really surprised when I found that Montana wasn't creating the jobs, you weren't creating the wealth, you weren't creating the opportunities for the next generation, if you will. And so many of the young people, when they got out of school, whether it was high school or community college or a four-year institution, they left the state.
Perry said he supported Gianforte's goal of making Montana more business-friendly.
I think what Greg Gianforte will be excellent at doing is making Montana a destination for businesses that want to relocate to a place that has a business climate that is fair and predictable.
And in a related story regarding the visit of Rick Perry to Missoula, outside the event at the Florence Hotel, Planned Parenthood advocates of Montana protesters were present, where Gianforte and Rick Perry were meeting for a fundraiser. Spokesman Nick Lockridge explains.
He took and signed a bill called HB2, and that was one of the most restrictive pieces of legislation on abortion services that our country has ever seen. Now, this bill was later overturned by the Supreme Court in a case, Whole Women's Health, and that was overturned last year.
Lockridge associated Perry and Gianforte on the issue of abortion.
We think that someone like Rick, who has these views, and someone like Greg, who has avoided answering a couple questions when we've asked him if he would be willing to do something similar, he's avoided those questions. So to us, this made it very clear where Greg stands on the issue.
The Republican candidate and his wife founded the Gianforte Family Foundation back in 2006 and has funded many pro-life campaigns. Yellowstone County officials have released the name of a woman who died after driving a pickup truck into the Yellowstone River in an apparent effort to elude police. Deputy Coroner Cliff Mahoney said 34-year-old Angela Rose Garcia Billings drowned Monday night. Officers pursued Garcia for about 15 minutes after getting a report that a trailer had been stolen in Laurel. The pickup and trailer went into the river near Riverside Park. Authorities say the driver got out and began swimming downstream. After about 400 yards, she went under, and officers never saw her come up. Garcia was not breathing when authorities pulled her out of the water. About 25 minutes after the pickup entered the river, she was pronounced dead at a local hospital. A Helena man has pleaded guilty to charges related to an armed standoff with National Park Service rangers that forced the evacuation of a campground in Glacier National Park. The Flathead Beacon reports 28-year-old Josiah Richards pleaded guilty yesterday to discharging a weapon and endangering other people in connection with the July incident. Court documents say Richard fired a .44 caliber revolver through the roof of his tent on July 9th at Sprague Creek Campground, which had been filled with people. According to the charges, Richard then, quote, took up a position, end quote, along the edge of the campground and didn't surrender until he was confronted by 4 rangers. Carrying a firearm at Glacier Park is legal, but firing a weapon is against the law. Our News Talk time now is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Take it easy out there on the roads this morning as we have dense fog around the Missoula Valley. That will burn off as we head later into the day, but then rain this afternoon and evening, highs in the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Matt Gray for the NBC Montana Severe Weather Alert Team.